I am a divorce and custody mediator and paralegal for Minnesota. I help parties handle divorce and custody cases with less conflict, less cost, and in less time. I am here with several professionals who also help folks who are divorcing. We each have our own very important role in this process. So, would you guys please just take 30 seconds to introduce yourselves, and then we'll talk about what you do more in detail in a bit.
Hi, my name is Ann Carter. I'm a residential loan officer with Summit Mortgage, NMLS 211972 and 1041 respectively. Ben?
Hi, everybody. Ben Millard with Unconditional Living. We help people be, do, and have more in life, which might not seem like it's for you if you're going through divorce or knowing people who are going through divorce, but there's something that comes after divorce, and that would be the rest of your life. And that's where I come in.
Hi, my name is Melissa.deitz. I am with Realty One Group Choice. I am the realtor of our group today, and I specialize in residential home buying and selling. Thank you, Patrick.
Hi, I'm Patrick.Stark with Liberty Mutual. I'm located in St. Paul, Minnesota, and I can help with all types of different insurance questions and the sticky parts of dealing with things after a marriage dissolves.
Great, thanks, guys. And so, just to give viewers a little bit of information about the boring legal stuff. So when you divorce, there are three main things that happen. First of all, you're going to have to divide the assets, and you only divide the marital assets. And marital assets are assets that are accrued or purchased during the marriage. So that would be a house, that would be cars, that would be funds that you put in your retirement funds or your investment accounts. That would even be all the property in your home. And so I approach things holistically where, we don't, divide each thing in half. What we do is we put everything all together and we say, okay, you guys have $1 million in assets. So the rule of law in Minnesota is that each party walks away with 50% of the marital assets. So we figure out, what 50%, what $500,000 of assets each person is going to walk away with. We start with a very basic question of who would like what, and then we work backwards from there. And then we divide the debts. And that's could be the least favorite part of the divorce process. So the rule of law with debts is it doesn't matter who created those debts. You guys have to share them because you're married. And how you divide those debts is by ability to pay. What that means is whoever earns more pays more. So if someone earns 100 grand a year and someone earns 50 grand a year, the person who earns 100 grand a year is going to pay twice as much of the debts. With both of these, rules of law for both dividing the assets and dividing the debts, if you both agree, you can waiver from those somewhat. And so that's another beauty of working together to divorce versus lawyering up and fighting it out. And then the third thing, if you folks have children, you're going to need to figure out who is taking care of the kids each day of the week, how you want to handle vacations, birthdays, holidays, all those really fun things. And, basically we just start from, what are you guys currently separated? Do you currently have a custody and parenting time agreement? Is it working? Because sometimes it's not working. And so we're back to the drawing board again. And we, think about, what work schedules do the parents have? What social life schedule do the parents have? And then we keep in mind the best interest of the children standards. What is going to be in the best interest of the kids. And the right of first refusal is a provision that I always ask if people would like in their documents. And another thing that sets me apart from many legal professionals is I ask you guys to decide what you're going to do when you're, if things pop up. Let's agree now what you're going to do when they pop up, because right now you're a lot more amicable, possibly, than you're going to be a year from now. And if we handle things now and we get them down in writing, it's only going to take, maybe an extra couple hours in the divorce process. And if things happen later on, it's going to cost you many hours of attorney's fees, because then I can't help you folks. So that is the boring legal stuff. And so now we are going to not translate. We're going to transition into talking about real estate. And Melissa, please tell us about buying and selling a house right now.
Hello, everyone. Well, as I'm sure you've probably heard, it is a great seller's market out there. Interest rates are very low still. They are inching up a little bit, but nothing too drastic. That doesn't make buying and selling an optimal time this summer. And we foresee this to stay a trend at least through this year. So if in the process, it is in the best interest to separate the family home and cash in that equity, and possibly both mom and dad go their own separate ways and get their own new place. That is a great solution to the issues at hand. Cash in that equity, you can split that 50-50, and both of you could walk away putting in a very nice down payment on your new homes, respectively, and get into that next step. The down payment will help keep your payments low and make it more affordable. And you can get a home that will be probably much easier for you maybe to maintain, especially if you're in a very, very large home, large yard, etc. Downsizing might be a great solution during this time. So we could put your house on the market and get that under contract, then go out and find each person respectively their own new place of residence. And ideally, it would be nice if we could get everybody to close on the same day. But if not, we can find different ways to make it all happen. There's various scenarios that could play out. So it just depends on each situation. Cash on hand right now as you're going through the process of the divorce. And yeah, but we can try and definitely get everything to go all together on the same day. You would sell on your first home, on the family home, and then each parent would then go their separate ways and close on the purchase of their new home. So with that being said, I will turn it over to Ann Carter, who will discuss more about the lending side of life.
Thanks, Melissa. Ann Carter with Summit Mortgage. So the rates, while they went up last week, they seem to be a little temperate this week. I don't quote rates right now because you have to have the APR and all sorts of stuff, and they can change by the minute. So what if someone quotes you a rate on Monday and then you talk to someone else on Wednesday, you are not comparing apples to apples at all. So rates fluctuate sometimes with the wind. We don't have crystal balls. No one does. We do have systems that we use, and we subscribe to certain products that will give us a hint if the market is getting better or worse, and they'll give us an alert to lock. So if you're in a floating situation, then we get that alert to lock. We may go ahead and lock. Now, the thing to remember, when you lock, that's like buying stock. Once you lock, you're locked. And don't go talk to somebody else the next day and go, well, they said, they can give me an eighth better. Well, too bad. You already made your decision. So, and again, you're comparing an apple to an avocado. I mean, not at all the same. So make sure that you are ready to lock, and know that just 1/8 of an interest rate is maybe $8 to $10. So it's not going to be huge in the grand scheme of things. And the other thing to know with interest rates is they are dependent on your credit score. So almost everything comes back to credit score. And even when you talk to Patrick, they'll pull a credit score on you to find out, to give them an idea about rates for them, I believe. So it's pulled when you want to get an apartment, when you want to get a house, when you want to get a car, when you want to get insurance. So it's really important that you protect that credit score at all costs. And so that means you may be ticked off at that other person that you're divorcing, but don't go out and just because they earn more money and you think they're going to have to pay more, don't go out and spend like a stupid person, just stay within your means, because you're going to have to going forward. And you ultimately could end up messing up your score, not just his, or not just messing up his finances. You could end up messing up your score. And now you can't get in either a house like you want, or into even a nice apartment that you want, because you may have built up so much debt that now you don't qualify for anything. So it's just better to, you can talk all you want, but don't go out and buy. Make sure you pay your bills on time. If you have debt, keep it a balance on your credit card. Keep it at about 30% of the total credit line. That will help your score, and pay everything on time. And if you can, put it on automatic pay, and then you don't have to think about it. And if you can't remember to do all that, put it on your calendar. But interest rates are still exceptionally good. So don't hesitate to get out there and buy right now. Ann Carter with Summit Mortgage, putting dogs and kids in yards, one home loan at a time.
Awesome. Thanks. That's really great information, because a lot of times the largest asset in a marriage is the home. And so now let's talk about, you've gone through the divorce process, and, hopefully it wasn't very long. And there's life after divorce. After every negative thing, we still need to move on, and how you move on is going to determine how positive or negative your future is. So one person who helps us move on after the divorce is Patrick. So Patrick, please talk about how you help folks move on.
Hi, Patrick Stark with Liberty Mutual. Well, just to follow up on what Ann said earlier, credit score is absolutely a part of the overall algorithm that goes into insurance premiums. So it's not something that I have to pull a report manually or anything like that, but it definitely is part of what's taken into consideration. I believe it's just a soft pull, so there's no like ding on your credit or anything like that. But yeah, so I mean, once you've moved on, or once the divorce is finalized and everything like that, and you've decided who's going to get what, a couple of the things that you're going to really want to need to consider are, number one, would be life insurance. If your priorities have changed in such a way that your marriage is dissolved and now you're on your own, you may have somebody else in your life that you'd like the beneficiary to be, if you have a life insurance policy. So in the case of your untimely passing, that you make sure that that money gets to the right place, especially if there's kids involved as well. A lot of times that will go to the guardians. If you leave it to the kids, it'll be put into a trust, and it can also be handled in probate court. So having your beneficiaries lined up are definitely something that you want to do, and you want to make sure that you do that right away after the divorce, so that that money's going to the right place. In terms of car insurance and homeowners insurance or renters, or just basic property insurance, I suppose. You know, one of the nice things that you probably will see are some decreases in premium, more than likely. One, time plays a big factor in that. So the longer you've had a policy, the more likely it is that you can save by switching to a different company. And also, you know, if you've got 2 cars on there, you may have a multi-car discount, but that's not going to offset how much cheaper it'll be just to have your own vehicle on there as opposed to 2. Just because that, depending on the year and make of the car and those types of things, those are big factors. And also when it comes to property insurance, you're just going to want to make sure that if you're the one keeping the home or keeping the apartment, whichever it is, that the named insured is yourself and not your former spouse. Because in the event of something happening, it will affect them as well. And they can also be liable for part of the deductible. Yeah, in terms of other types of insurance, boat insurance, kind of the same thing as auto. And pets, obviously, that would follow the pet. But there are different things too. You cannot, if you haven't been legally divorced yet, if the final papers have not gone in through the courts, then you need to have your soon-to-be ex actually call the insurance company and have them taken off of the policy. So if you're getting divorced and you call me and say that you're divorcing your spouse and you want them off your policy, I can't help you. There are rules in place to make sure that people aren't unknowingly losing their insurance. And even if you say, well, I told him or her, that doesn't cut it. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff to deal with at the end of things, but on the insurance side, they're fairly straightforward and fairly simple, and you may even save a little money.
I have heard that from people that after divorcing, life is so much less expensive. So, hey, there's another positive. So, thanks, Patrick. And so now, Ben, I saved you for last because you're the emotions guy. And so, Ben, can you please talk to folks about how you help them move forward after divorce in a effective and efficient manner?
Thanks, Christy. And by emotions, guys, she doesn't mean that I just oscillate between them very fast as we go through. There's a lot of information just in this short time we've spent together, and we only have a realtor, a mortgage broker, and an insurance guy, not to mention financial advice, not to mention estate planning, not to mention child rearing, not to mention. You can probably think of all the other things in your life that are going to get pulled apart as the fabric of relationship gets pulled apart with it, divorce. And look, nobody wants you to get divorced. Maybe you do. I don't know where you are in your divorce, if it's wanted or unwanted. But none of us are advocating for you to get divorced. But the reality is now you're here and divorces happen. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't still be watching this 20 minutes in. And because you're here and divorce is happening, you're going to experience an entire range of emotions. And the real truth is, people don't make smart choices when we're under stress and duress. We just don't. You might think you do. You're probably making the best choice that you can think of to make, but the amount of scope that you're able to consider when under pressure goes way down. And if you're having trouble believing that, just think about this. Let's say you're running late for a very important appointment. If you don't get out the door in the next 1 minute, you're going to be late for that job interview or for that loan application or for that whatever it is. And now you don't know where your keys are. What are the chances you find your keys in 1 minute? Not good. Not good. None of us do, because all of a sudden we forget everything about where we put keys in our house because the pressure is on. And the same is true and amplified to a greater extreme with major life decisions. I mean, I get it. I went through a divorce and I don't remember the next year of my life very clearly. There was a lot of emotional turmoil. And in my divorce process, it was amicable in the fact that we didn't need to go to lawyers, because quite honestly, we just didn't have a lot of assets to divide. And what I come to find And I keep coming to find this with people who are going through relationship separations. You think you're going to show up to the table and make calm, cool-headed, and logical decisions in everyone's best interest until you show up to the table. And then that doubt starts creeping in, and that fear starts creeping in. Well, what if they want the kids all week? What if they don't want to give me time with the kids? I really like the Chevy. I don't like the Ford we have in our house. I don't want to get stuck with the Ford, or I don't want to take on all of their debt. I didn't sign up for those magazines. All of these types of thoughts, and you're probably laughing because some of these are either things you've thought about or you've had a close thought to it. All of these types of thoughts drive wedges in our ability to cognitively think through rationally sound decisions that are going to set us up for the future life that's coming to us. That's why all of us are here, is to help with that. And all of us will talk to you for free. Most of us have services that pay us. Patrick's pay comes through insurance. So if you need to switch insurances anyway, and you want to talk to Patrick, he'll help set you up with a good insurance. And if you happen to choose his, that's when he's going to get paid. And Anne and Melissa, if you've ever bought a house, you know there's commissions involved in all of that. I get paid directly, but I also have a sliding scale because I understand that if you're in the middle of a divorce, there's probably not a lot of money to go around. And we're not in this to get rich off of your unfortunate life circumstance. Divorce is one of the top 5 most impactful and possibly traumatic negative life events that can happen to us in life. And none of us are here to make money off of it. We are here to help you get back on track. In fact, having a team around you to help you make cognitive rational decisions that you know and that you can trust in is so important that some legal firms in the Twin Cities actually require you to work with a life coach like myself when you're going through the divorce process and they're your lawyers, because they understand this very fundamental truth. You need experts you can rely on. I used 0 experts in my divorce, and I paid for it with a year of self-doubt and second guessing if I did it the right way. And I know that you may not know us that well. You may not think that you need to use us because you think it's going to be good. But the moment that it's not, and you're sitting down with Christie, and you realize that things are a little bit more contentious than they might need to have been, that's when it's time to reach out to an expert. You don't have to remember all of our names. You don't have to remember all of our contact info, although I know Christie will put it in the chat or in the description. You just have to remember to ask Christie when you sit down with her, hey, I would like to get in contact with those people that you know to help me work through this, because I can recognize that I'm not in my best thinking. And you shouldn't be in your best thinking. You shouldn't feel like you have to be. You've got emotional trauma to sort through of the separating of a central relationship in your life. That's your work. Let that be where your focus goes, and let us handle the rest. I'm Ben Millard with Unconditional Living. You can render to the world and to humanity no greater service than to make the most of yourself. So let yourself deal with yourself, and let us deal with all the stuff that we know how to do real well, so that you can have peace of mind and not have to worry about it.
Thanks, Ben. And I was just about an hour ago recording a live talk with Lisa Harris of Lisa Harris and Company. And, and I pointed out that a divorce is a death of a relationship. And so there's a lot of grieving that needs to happen. And if you don't, do the grieving, guess what? It's going to come out anyways. And it's going to come out sideways, and you're going to do some fun, interesting things. And what do you have to say about that, Ben?
Are you talking to me specifically? Because that was my experience. I didn't account for the amount of time that my emotions were going to take to grieve, process, hurt, heal, and recover. I ended up taking on almost all, maybe all, I don't exactly remember, and I don't want to speak a lie, but almost all of the debt out of our relationship. That was my guilt driving in that situation. My guilt took on all that debt, not a sound and rational decision about ability to pay. I didn't even know that was the legal standard, for example, at the time. I just took it because I didn't want to fight, because we didn't have lawyers and we didn't have a mediator. We just had a form that we downloaded from the government website for filling it out. By the way, that is not the way. to go about this process, because your emotions will get the better of you. I'm walking proof of that. But you're right. Ending relationships requires time to grieve. Ending anything, any sense of loss requires some amount of time to grieve. There's no right or wrong way to grieve. You might be done in a day. You might be done with that jerk, moving on. If you're feeling that, it's probably not true. You're probably going to have a backlash a couple weeks later, and that's okay. It may take, like I did, it may take a ridiculously long time to grieve. And people might look at you funny and say, why aren't you over that yet? Your process is your process. Don't let anybody tell you that your process is wrong. You need to give your fullest and best energy to healing your emotional trauma, because emotions come before rational thought. So whatever you're feeling will be the only lens you can look at making decisions through. And because we know that divorces come with trauma and grief, and we know we're going to experience sadness and loss, and we know that sadness and guilt leads to self-inflicted sabotage decisions, don't make them by yourself. Part of my job is literally to help people make decisions and to be a thinking partner, a sounding partner. Part of Melissa, Ann, and Patrick's job is literally to help people make the best decisions about their particular slice of your financial future. If you've got a financial advisor, you should be on the phone with them almost every day during this divorce process. After every meeting with your mediators or your lawyers, if it didn't become amicable, you should be talking with all of your people and going, here is where the landscape is now. What's the next move? Absolutely. You have enough to deal with just dealing with the end of the relationship. You don't need to worry about all the stuff that there is quite literally an army of people who, unless you happen to be an insurance agent, a mortgage agent, or a real estate agent, if you do, great. But even if you are, you're probably not in your best thinking. There's an army of people who are those people who know better than you do, even on your best day, what the best move is, let alone on your worst day.
Thanks very much, Ben. And speaking of Army, let's acknowledge yesterday was Memorial Day. And, and we would all like to thank everybody who is serving or has served in the military. I know it's something I wasn't brave enough to do. My stepdad had wanted me to go into the JAG Corps. He was in the Navy, and I was like, yeah, no thanks. So thank you to the people who actually said yes to that call. Christie Legal does offer a 20% discount to all military folks and veterans. And does anybody else have anything that they would like to share? I'm not getting any questions on Facebook.
My branch at Summit also offers a discount to military and firefighters and police, so first responders.
I just think one thing I'd like to say is that all of us are here because we enjoy helping people. And I think part of all of our job descriptions are to make sure that we're helping to educate people who just don't know, because they're not, like in my case, they're not in the insurance world, or they're not in the real estate world, or, and so I think that just as a message to send out is that we're here to help, and there are no bad questions, and we look forward to talking to each and every one of you.
All right. As Ben would say, there has been a sufficient silence. So I know that people aren't wanting to talk. Ben leads a mastermind for us. He's going to be leading one for us actually this Thursday at 1 o'clock. So if you like mastermind sessions, contact either Ben or myself, and we'll give you the Zoom link to join in. It's going to be about business. So so thank you very much for joining us on this very sunny afternoon. And our contact information is in the description. And we all offer no cost initial consultations. And have a great rest of your day. Thank you.